Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast, brought to you by DraftKings. Put in $5, you get $150 in free plays if you're a new customer betting on the NBA. Okay, PJ Brown, the ultimate good luck charm. PJ, thank you a ton for hopping back on here again on short notice, but Arizona women's softball is in the College World Series. Now, I was going back, and because this is how I am, when Arizona was 0-8, and what's going on here? They can't possibly be this, this, that, and the other. PJ, how have we gotten to this point?
Hi, Mike. It's this incredible fun run that nobody expected. And it's been, it is a little bit of a head scratcher. I will say that.
Right.
As I was watching this team during the season, there were a few games where they seemed to put it all together, like a handful of games. And then all of a sudden they go on this run in the postseason. They did the ultimate reset. They just are loose and having fun. There's absolutely no pressure on them this year, right? Because they weren't supposed to be here. They were on the fence even of making the postseason after finishing in a tie for last place in the Pac-12. It says a lot of things about this team and the Pac-12 conference. So to unpack it a little bit, Pac-12, as we talked about before, is the best conference for softball this year. And it has been for a long time. It's just that people didn't realize this year really what was going on. I think that they started out the season, they played the two best teams in the conference, which are the two of the best teams in the country, in UCLA and ASU.
Right.
And when you're not a team that has found itself yet, that's a tough way to start. And so, and they just started clawing back and putting things together. And right now, they're just having a lot of fun.
And see, that's the key. And see, that's the key too. When you watch him too, and again, I'm not an insider like yourself, but just watching him from a distance, when it looked like there were times during the regular season when you could just see them pressing a little bit. And that's certainly understandable because you are at you're the apex of the college softball world. Things aren't going the way. This probably isn't what you thought you were signing up for. But I think you hit the nail on the head. When you watch those women yesterday, that was a free and easy bunch. And when those runs started going and when they started extending that lead further and further, you could just see so many of them just like, this is Arizona softball right here. It was just really kind of a moment in time that was special.
Absolutely. And, I remember last year they went through sometime where they struggled too. And what they used to always say under Mike Candrea was that, players were on their own islands and they weren't playing together. And now Caitlin Lowe says the same thing, but she uses her terminology, right? She said they just weren't playing for each other. And I think once they kind of came together, things started changing. And then when postseason play started and they realized it's 0-0, everybody's in the same boat.
Right.
That changed everything. Devin Netz said yesterday that after the game, after she pitched that great game, that after they finished the Stanford series, she was in the bullpen and pitching coach Taryn Mowat McKinney, one of the greatest pitchers, in Arizona history, said,
Fantastic name, by the way, as well. I've always loved that name. It's a
yeah,
great name.
it is. Absolutely. She told Devin, and Devin was kind of down. She's like, we just had a horrible season, and everything. And Taryn said to her, listen, this is the fun part. This is what you play for all year.
Right.
Everybody starts over, right? Anybody can win. This is why you play the postseason. You play it to have these sort of Cinderella stories. Last year it was JMU in the World Series who was unseeded, and everybody got behind that team and they went on a run. And this year I can only imagine that everybody's rooting for Arizona.
Right. Well, and it's really weird to be like, it's so weird to have a program that is at the apex of everything. I mean, you look at it, and outside of UCLA, the most titles, you've got the best coach of all time, and Arizona is the one that's kind of going in there, is like you said, the underdog. Which leads me to my next question: how far can this team go?
I mean,
right?
It's funny. People have been asking me that. I'm going to Oklahoma City and to cover
Very cool.
the World Series. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
And we have no idea, right? Because this is not the team we saw during the season. This is the team we're seeing right now. How far can they go? I don't know. I really don't know. I would imagine that they're going to come against probably some top pitchers, depending how the bracket plays out.
Right.
They play Oklahoma State to start out. They got a chance against them.
Right.
We don't know. But what happens next? When do they face UCLA again? Or when do they play Oklahoma? That's when it gets really tough, because they have pitchers who are incredible. They're the top pitchers in the country, and they can just shut you down. I mean, last year when they went, they faced Montana Fouts, and she shut them down.
Right.
And all you need is one pitcher like that. And usually this is what happens in the World Series is you'll have one dominant pitcher, and that ends up being the story. And so we don't know. And we don't know because the one thing about this team that I noticed yesterday is they know how to adjust. So in the beginning of the game, it took them till the fourth inning to really hit. But throughout those first 3 innings, they were extending those at-bats. They were 7-9 pitch at-bats, and they were fouling off pitches.
Which adds up so much after you start looking. You're like, all right, well, your pitch count's already at 47 through 2 or 3 innings.
Right. So they did that to the opposing pitcher, but also they saw everything that she had.
Right.
So everybody's studying this, and then they adjust, and then they come out in the fourth inning and they just hit. And that's a sign of a team that's playing on all cylinders, because it doesn't matter. At some point, they're going to break through. So they got a chance at going fairly far. It just depends how the bracket plays out, and if Hannah Bowen and Devin Netz can keep up this pitching, which has been phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about that base. By the way, listener Tina, I apologize for not tagging you in the post today. You're in there. You're one of our best. DraftKings Sportsbook app, also one of the best. Put in $5, $150 in free plays. Heck, I mean, I don't know, any sport you want, they're going to have 21 and up, Arizona only. Gambling issue, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Put in $5, get $150 in free plays if you bet on the NBA. Okay. I think what's also very, very interesting about this entire thing here is just the base that Arizona has, because these women are going to be in it for the long haul right here. Caitlin Lowe is not looking to move anywhere. This is her job. Taryn Moe at McKinney, same thing. This is what they wanted to do. And you compare and contrast it. And I generally don't like doing this, but I think it's apropos. Just look at baseball last year. Jay Johnson was good, but you could always kind of tell, probably had his eyes on something else. That's why I think it's so unique what Arizona's got going here, because PJ, these coaches are in their dream job. They're not looking to say, man, I hope that UCLA job comes open. No, Caitlin Lowe wants to be here. That's what's got to be also cool about covering this.
Oh, absolutely. And that's sort of how it is in softball. I mean, you see Patty Gasso's been at Oklahoma forever, right? And you look around the country and this is what you see. People get these jobs and they stay and they develop these programs, they develop these players and they stay and they win. And so that's sort of pretty much how the sport is. And then you take both Caitlin and Taryn, who are alums of this, one of the best programs, if not the best program in the country. And they played here. They were two of the best who ever played. They come back. They coach for Mike Andrea, the legendary Mike Andrea. And then he handpicks Caitlin to succeed him. I mean, it's just, it is like it's a great sport. It's a great program. And it's sort of the way it should be, right? It's like, it adds so much more to this story. I mean, and when you figure out that this was the season that was supposed to be the growing pains, right?
Right.
For not only Caitlin stepping into those big shoes and for the players, and then to go on this run, it's like, it's so much fun. It's just incredible.
Is there anything too? I think you hit the nail on the head. Is there anything? And by the way, I've said that 3 times in our last couple interviews because PJ Brown does hit the nail on the head. By the way, real quick, where can they find all of your work, PJ? Because listen, this is your one-stop shop for softball, for women's basketball, right here, and it's not me; it's the woman that I'm talking to right here.
Thanks. You can find all my stuff at Tucson.com. And you can download the free Wildcaster app. And you can find all my stuff there, as well as stuff on Arizona men's basketball, football, baseball, everything from Bruce Pascoe, Michael Lev, Greg Hansen, and the rest of the crew is on the Wildcaster app. It's free. And you can find me on Twitter at PJBrown09.
Okay. When I put out that you were going to be coming back on, immediately, I had 3 DMs within about an hour asking for some specific women's basketball talk as well. And I said, you know what? I can certainly do that. So got 3 questions right here. First question is, and this is kind of building off what we were talking about a little bit yesterday, what do you see Arizona's hallmark being next year? Like, when they get going, what is really going to be their trait that they step back to?
Well, it's always defense, right?
Right.
And that's what Arizona is known for. And I think that with the players coming in, especially some of these transfers, they're known for their defense. So I think they fit Adia Barnes's system because of that. And that's part of the reason she chose them.
Who's going to be that end of game player? And again, there is no Ari McDonald. Nobody's, saying that, but you've got a Kate Reese. You've obviously got a Lavelle coming in. Is that something that it's probably going to take some time to see? Will seniority play out? What's your vantage point say?
Well, I would start out with Shayna Pellington. She had the 2 game winners last year.
No doubt.
And she wants the ball at the end of the game.
Right.
She wants it. Now, it could be Jade. She could come in. We don't know how that plays out. It could be a Karen Gilbert, Caitlin Gilbert, sorry. And it could be, somebody that we're not expecting. So it will play out. Kate Reese, excellent player, but she's never been the one who grabs it at the end. And I think part of that's because it was Ari's job before. And then Shayna sort of fit into that role last year. So we'll see. We really don't know how to play out. But Shayna's always my number 1 because of what she did last season. And I only expect her to want it more now. And I will say that that's a trait that not every player has. So you can be a great player like a Kate Reese or a Sam Thomas, and you could not be the one who wants the ball at the end of the game. They're 2 separate things. So Shayna is a really good player, and she has that trait where it's like, give me the ball.
I've always felt too that that's somewhat inherent, like that you kind of have that trait or you don't. It's kind of, it's like when somebody says, I want to do something when everybody's looking at me, but Do you really? Because you don't know until you're really in that spot. So Shane is a great call on that one. I apologize. I didn't even think about that one. All right. This one's fascinating. What do you think about a supersized lineup at times next year, where you go with a Maya Nagy, a Lauren Ware, a Kate Reese up front and just go super big? Is that something they're going to tinker with?
Probably. I think so. It depends on how they all mesh together.
Right.
And I think Maya is a player that can play with anybody. So
Right.
I think that's the benefit, one of her benefits, and one of her really great skill sets is that she will be able to be that player that can, play with anybody, and she doesn't care. And it just works. So I definitely think that could be something that we will see. And then you have some others that they're bringing in some players that are taller. Let's just say that. Besides Maya. Besides Maya.
So many names going on right now. I got you.
Right. They're all in my head. I was softball, then basketball here.
Right.
So, but a lot of, the players are getting bigger and stronger and that are coming in. So we could see a really strong lineup in there. And again, the big thing is, that works maybe, or that sounds great on the offensive side, but we have to see how they fit defensively. And that's always the key, because it's defense first. Now, there are many more weapons this year offensively. And so we just have to see how they fit together defensively. So last year, one of the issues was there was a really great defensive lineup, but then they didn't have the offensive power, right? They just didn't shoot and everything.
It was kind of a whack-a-mole thing. You figure out one thing and then this opens up. Yeah.
This year they won't have that problem, because I think that a lot of these players who are coming in are two-way players and are strong enough to do that and focus on it. They're coming in with that focus. And so that's part of what's going to be different this year, is that you have more players who are going to be able to do both. And that fits the system, right? That makes the system even better. And then it can be tweaked and elevated. And we're going to see a much better team this year than we have in the past.
All right. Before we sign off, and I thought of something that I wanted to throw off you, but real quick again, as you all know, DraftKings Sportsbook app, put in $5, $150 in free plays if you bet on the NBA tonight and you're a new customer. I like the Miami Heat to win tonight. That's my DK pick of the week. So you know what? If you think I'm an idiot, go against me right there. Okay. You know what's cool though about watching, and you and I chatted about this a little bit last night. Ari McDonald, Sam Thomas on the same court. What a great, and not that Adia Barnes needs any more recruiting help, because she obviously is doing, but you look at right now and you look at what that WNBA could look at over the next 5-6 years, where it could really be every single game. Oh, there's an ex-U of A basketball player. There's an ex-U of A basketball player. And it just really dawned on me for the first time today that you really could see over the next 5 or 6 years a proliferation of Wildcats into the WNBA, which obviously before Adia got here really wasn't something that was ever really on the radar. So again, I was just watching. It was kind of a time and place, and it was cool to think about that you could be seeing a lot more of that in future years there, PJ.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think we've talked about this before. The Ari McDonald story and the Sam Thomas story are two great stories, right? And stories that every recruit is looking at on a game by game basis right now. So Ari McDonald comes in here. She was a good player at Washington, but she wasn't the Ari McDonald that we knew here.
Right.
That was the development of Adia Barnes and Salva Copa, and Ari McDonald working her butt off to get to become that good, right? It was the combination of things. So when you look at Ari and who she is today, a lot of that came from Arizona and from that development that both of those coaches had with her. So that's one story. And then everybody saw it play out in the 2021 national championship run.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So everybody sees that. then you look at a Sam Thomas, who was a top 100 recruit, one of Adia Barnes's first recruit at Arizona, and she was underrated. She's always been underrated. We all admit this. But when you take a player like that who then signs a training camp contract, makes a roster in the hardest league to make a roster, she's a professional player in the WNBA. And you look at the development and everything that Adia Barnes and the combination with Salva Copa did for Sam Thomas. And not only that, but when you look at Sam's story, you look at the fact that Adia Barnes knows just about everybody in the WNBA. They're either a former
teammate. She's a good person to know for sure.
Yeah. They're former teammate, former coach. She knows all the agents. She knows everything. She's the one that got Sam the contract, the training camp contract, which started all this. Then it was just up to Sam to show what she's got, right? And so when you're a recruit and you're looking at this, and they all want to play, they all want to be a professional athlete, right? A professional basketball player in the WNBA. And you see a coach who not only coached you up and developed you, but then takes it to the next step and is basically your agent to get you that great training camp contract. What else do you need, right? It's like Adia Barnes hits every single checkbox when you're a kid and you want to play professionally. She's it. Who else is doing that? I don't see any other college coach doing that for their players. And Adia Barnes did that, and she will continue to do that.
Is there any doubt that Sam Thomas, in some way, shape, or form, whether that's 10 years from now, 12 years from now, will be back on that Arizona sideline in some capacity? It just feels natural to come back and be an assistant under Adia.
She could be. She definitely could be. She has talked about, she started talking a little bit about wanting to be a coach. So, Sam Thomas can do anything she wants. She could be president of the United States. Let's face it. She's smart. She's charming. Everybody loves Sam Thomas, and she's a hard worker. And she just touches everybody that she meets in such a special way. And if that were to happen somewhere down the road, that's great for Arizona basketball fans.
All right, PJ, before we sign off, let the people out there know what your coming week's going to look like, because I think you're going to be traveling a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Oklahoma City. I head out there Wednesday, and I'll be there until whenever the Wildcats finish playing. It's going to be a fun time out there. We need you to stay as long as possible. We hope so.
She's PJ Brown from, again, PJ, you're the absolute best. Follow her on Twitter, PJ Brown09. Get the Wildcaster app. Again, like she talked about, it's free. You can get you can get everything from everybody. Again, kind of a one-stop shop. PJ, can't thank you enough, and safe travels. You're the best.
Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later, Mike.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. That's PJ Brown. I'm Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.